And turning now to Capitol Hill, where early this morning, after all-night sessions in the Rules Committee and on the House floor, House Republicans advanced President Trump's sweeping tax and spending agenda, sending it off to the Senate, where Republicans have vowed to change it. The Trump-named One Big Beautiful Bill Act passed on a 215 to 214 vote, with 2 Republicans joining all Democrats voting no, 1 voting present, and 2 absent for the vote. The bill only got to the finish line after last-minute changes swayed moderate and hardline holdouts, facilitated by President Trump. Top House Republicans praised the president as they took a victory lap after the vote.
None of this would be possible without the leadership of President Trump, who every step of the way not only laid out the vision, ran a campaign on this vision, but every step of the way, too, said, whatever you need, let me know. And he was there to help us.
We stand ready to continue our work together to deliver on the One Big Beautiful Bill, as President Trump named it himself. We're going to send that to his desk. We're going to get it there by Independence Day on July 4th, and we are going to celebrate a new golden age in America.
Now, a reminder of what's in this bill. It increases funding for immigration enforcement in the Pentagon while extending the 2017 tax cuts and temporarily ending taxes on tips and overtime. It's all paid for by cutting funds for clean energy, food assistance, and Medicaid, with those Medicaid spending cuts coming from adding work requirements and barring non-confirmed citizens from the program. The president today on social media implored senators to send the bill to his desk, quote, as soon as possible, saying there is no time to waste. Senate Republicans can pass this bill on party lines, but must deal with senators who want to make some changes as well. Let's listen.
The Senate's going to want to put its own stamp on this. We'll write our own version of the bill. I talked to the president about this last night, and his instructions were pretty clear. Don't cut Medicaid.
A lot of it looks pretty good. I mean, if we're taking, we all agree that the Jobs and Tax Cuts Act is the majority of what we're trying to accomplish here. So that's a good start. Still, I think there's some opportunities for more efficiency, some more savings.
I'm not persuadable to go against the principles of conservative government. I was elected and told people I wanted to come up here to try to make things fiscally responsible to balance the budget. And I'm certainly not going to vote to send things the opposite way.
My NBC News colleague Sahil Kapur is all over this on Capitol Hill. So, Sahil, how'd this bill pass?
Hey, Gabe. Well, the bill passed by a 1-vote margin after a marathon overnight session by House Republicans when most Americans were fast asleep. They pushed this through the Rules Committee last night and then immediately, within hours, moved it to the floor of the chamber. First, advanced the rule, which is the procedural step to bring it up, and then very early in the morning, they passed it 215 to 214. They lost a couple of votes. 2 of them missed the vote, were apparently sleeping while it happened. They did this with a series of changes that placated conservatives and a handful of blue state members. Take a look at some of these changes here. The Medicaid work requirements move up. They start earlier at the end of 2026 instead of 2029 when they had initially set them. The cap on state and local tax deductions goes up to $40,000 from the current $10,000 and above that $30,000 offer that these blue state Republicans, mostly from New York, said was not enough. It only applies to those who make less than $500,000 a year. And then clean energy tax credits phase out earlier. That was another demand that the conservative hardliners had. And then one of the more trivial changes, MAGA accounts for youth savings, tax-preferred accounts that people can make for their kids, are renamed to Trump accounts, a bit of a Control-F replace with Trump accounts, Gabe.
And Sahil, oh, by the way, those 2 that missed the vote, yeah, at least one of them was sleeping. I bet that didn't go over well with Speaker Johnson or President Trump for that matter. But on the subject of President Trump, you know, he's done this before where he's kind of stepped in at the last minute to get those remaining holdouts. Take us inside what happened this time. How involved was he in the final process here? Did he get into the details, or how influential was he overnight?
He certainly mattered. I mean, President Trump held a series of meetings with Republicans. He got in their heads. He demanded that they do this. Trump is not the type of person who's a policy wonk who takes them through the details, who says, here's how this policy is going to work, here's the math of it, here are the estimates of it. That's not his style. That's not what anybody knows him to be, but he is very influential with them because he has an enormous amount of power over their constituents, especially these Republican members in solidly red districts. whose voters may have a decade ago wanted them to stand up to the Republican establishment and be rebels and make trouble. Now they want these lawmakers to be cheerleaders for the Trump agenda. And that is ultimately a very, very influential factor that got the Freedom Caucus in line. This group used to be known for scuttling bills, for going against bills that added to the debt. And this bill adds more than $2 trillion to the debt. But at the end of the day, they know their constituents want them to support Trump's agenda. Trump knows that as well, and he used that influence.
And Sahil, before I let you go, this is just phase one for the bill. The next phase is the Senate. What is expected there? What are the sticking points?
Yeah, there will be changes. Senators have big egos. They like to put their fingerprints on major pieces of legislation like this, but there are a number of specific issues we've talked to senators about that they want to see change. There are multiple members of the Republican Senate Conference that have issues with the aggressive spending cuts to Medicaid. They have cited a series of issues that they want to change. In addition to clean energy tax credits, some of them don't want those to be phased out of their states. And then the biggest issue is the debt. Again, there are certain conservative members of the Senate that don't want to add trillions of dollars to the debt. Take a listen to the other Johnson, Senator Ron Johnson, what he had to say.
We are stealing from our children and grandchildren, $37 trillion in debt, and we're going to add to it as Republicans. That is unacceptable. And that's why there's no way I'm going to vote for this bill in its current form.
Now, the good news for the White House, Gabe, is that they have, in percentage terms, a larger margin in the Senate than Republicans have in the House. It's 53 to 47, which in this day and age is not bad. They have to find a way to get 50 of those members because this bill is not subject to the filibuster. And remember, any changes are going to have to go back to the House of Representatives. So the idea of getting this done by that July 4th date that Speaker Johnson has set, still very much up in the air.
Sahil Kapur with some long nights this week on Capitol Hill. Sahil, thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.